For the first time, Ukraine is facing such large-scale shelling of the energy facilities. Ukraine has survived 6 missile attacks already, and obviously this is not the end. For what purposes Russia doing this? What goals does it pursue? You are watching UATV, I'm Oleksii Matsuka, and let's figure it out. Military and political experts disclose their assessments of Moscow's goals of this shelling. Most of them agree that one of Moscow's main goals is to kill Ukrainian economy. Just imagine, Russia's largest shelling of Ukraine's critical infrastructure has led to $1 billion in losses. Danilo Getmantsov, the head of the Financial Committee of the Verkhovna Rada, voiced his assessment.
The Ministry of Economy has already corrected its macro forecast in the direction of increasing the fall in GDP to 39% due to the attacks in October. In November, the attacks increased. That is, the fall will continue. Danilo Getmantsov, head of the Verkhovna Rada Committee on Finance, Tax and Customs Policy.
It will affect the state of the budget directly. This year the deficit was $5 billion monthly. The next year Ukraine planned to reduce the deficit to $3 billion so that it would be enough to cover it with money from international donors. But these calculations were made before Russia's mass attacks on our energy facilities. Now, of course, the numbers will change. For example, now Kyiv needs 300 million euros to restore its energy infrastructure, said Ivana Klimpur-Stensadzhe, head of the Parliamentary Committee of European Integration. According to her, in winter, Ukraine will need more and more European Union support every day. This means that this support will become more expensive for the West. But here it's clear that no matter how the losses grow, Ukraine will not be left face to face with this situation.
The US and EU have already put forward proposals to provide Ukraine with funds to cover most of the deficit next year. We expect that this will help attract funding from donors and bring the country closer to launching a new full-fledged cooperation program with the IMF. Serhiy Marchenko, Minister of Finance of Ukraine.
Moscow understands the fact that Western partners will not let the Ukrainian economy collapse, and that means the Kremlin wants to hit the Western pocket by growing costs of repairing energy facilities. Moscow expects that European Union countries will be busy with their own economic problems. So theoretically, there will be talk about the need for a pause. Next, let us proceed to the second reason for attacks. This is an attempt to deplete both Ukrainian and Western arsenals, and the Pentagon openly talks about it. According to the Air Force of Ukraine, the armed forces shoot down more than half of the cruise missiles and a significant part of the Iranian Shahed drones. Pentagon confirms Russia's losses of drones and the high accuracy of Western air defense systems transferred to Ukraine. However, these efforts are depleting arsenals rapidly, and the US military department came to the conclusion that this was Moscow's deliberate and conscious strategy. It's just depleting stocks for Ukraine's air defense systems.
They are really trying to overwhelm and exhaust Ukrainian air defense system. We know what the Russian theory of victory is, and we are committed to making sure that that's not going to work by making sure that the Ukrainians get what they need to keep their air defense viable. Colin Call, Under-Secretary of Defense for Policy.
According to Air Force Speaker Yuri Ignat, the Ukrainian sky is now mainly protected by Soviet air defense system. These are mainly Buk M1 and S-300, many of which are operating at the peak of their capabilities. Ammunition for them comes from Russia, so it's impossible to replenish it. and Ukraine is running out of these missiles already. The only way out is to replace the old Soviet air defense systems with Western-made systems, and this is really happening. Over the past month and a half, Ukraine receives both German IRIS-T and American NASAMS. Literally these days, Hawk systems will come to Kyiv, and deliveries are not only from the United States. Europeans also share their reserves, I mean Spain, Poland and Sweden. However, the supply of Patriot systems from the United States is still an open question.
Deliveries of air defense system to Ukraine need to be speed up. NASAMS have proven their efficiency already. I'm also convinced that the time for Patriots has come. Dmytro Kuleba, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine.
France and Italy are planning to supply a replacement, the SAMP-T system. In fact, this is the first Western-made long-range system that also counters ballistic missiles. Everything seems to be very promising, but we cannot bypass the issue of price here. According to open data, the cost of the missile for NASAMS complexes ranges from $500,000 to $1 million per unit, depending on the type. One missile for the IRIS-T complex with infrared guidance ranges from 300 to 400,000 euros. At the same time, Russia uses small homing munitions worth $25,000 and Iranian attack drones that cost between 20 and 50,000 per unit. Their striking power is enough to damage small substations and small infrastructure objects, but the Kremlin uses expensive cruise and ballistic missiles to strike large power plants, each of which can cost up to several $1 million. So Moscow hopes that the Western ammunition supplied to Ukraine may not be enough to repel all massive strikes, while producing new ammunition is not so fast, although the situation is not at all critical as Moscow is trying to present. But there is another reason why Moscow can continue shelling cohesion to negotiations. Over the past few weeks, Moscow is sending signals that it wants to negotiate. At first, they spoke in a veiled way that they did it openly. But Kyiv is sure that Moscow doesn't have an actual desire to agree on peace or at least a truce. It looks like an attempt to take a breather in order to pull up reserves and strengthening their positions.
The Russian side wants to get an operational pause in order to prepare its mobilized forces, find additional weapons, build up defense echelons along the Dnipro line, in particular in Zaporizhia and Kherson region. Mikhailo Podolyak, advisor to the head of the president's office.
At the same time, Andriy Yermak, the head of the presidential office, said that Russia had not officially asked Ukraine for negotiations and that any dialogue without the withdrawal of Russian troops from the entire territory of the country is unacceptable.
For us, any conversations that are not based on territorial integrity within internationally recognized borders is unacceptable. The first steps to be taken on the Russian side are to withdraw all Russian troops from Ukrainian territory. This would be a significant signal of real political will to end this war. Andriy Yermak, head of the president's office.
Kyiv supposes that the true goal of massive shelling is not even to stimulate the negotiation process, but to damage critical infrastructure and make numerous Ukrainians suffer more. Millions of ordinary people will stay in the cold apartments without water. Under the worst-case scenario, the cold and the lack of medical services could lead to the deaths and thousands of Ukrainians. Such plans usually have a simple definition: genocide.
It's not necessary to create concentration camps for genocide. You can just destroy critical infrastructure, and people will die due to the lack of water and heat. The hospitals will stop due to the lack of electricity. The houses cannot be reached by medical or emergency services. Yaroslav Demchenko, Deputy Minister of Energy of Ukraine.
Probably Moscow wants to demoralize the population and undermine faith in victory. British Minister of Defense assures that this is the goal of Russian shelling.
The strikes have resulted in widespread damage to transmission stations and power plants. Schedules and emergency blackouts have become routine in parts of Ukraine, with Kyiv notably impacted. Ministry of Defense of the United Kingdom.
Yes, the mass shelling has already caused the rolling blackouts, and the forecasts of energy companies can hardly be called optimistic. Local authorities are also complaining. However, the situation rather united the Ukrainians. People share, invite each other to tea, to get warm, to charge a cell phone, advise each other on how to use a gas burner. Yes, it's not easy, but even if you look at social media, no one is suggesting let us surrender. And it turns out that the possible reasons for shelling don't achieve their goals. But how exactly will Western air defense system work? When will they operate at full capacity? When will they be integrated in the signal complex, and what will change then? We will definitely talk about this in the new episodes. Please subscribe to our channel to stay tuned. Thanks for watching. See you in the new video.